right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Just a few things here at the top, and then we'll get right to your questions. I mentioned it briefly yesterday at the off-camera briefing, so I'd like to just provide a quick readout of Secretary Austin's phone call with Qatar's newly appointed Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State for Defense Affairs, His Excellency Sheikh Saud Al Thani. During their call, the Secretary reaffirmed the U.S.-Qatar defense partnership, reviewed opportunities to enhance defense cooperation, and discussed regional security developments. The Secretary emphasized the Department's commitment to regional de-escalation through deterrence and diplomacy, including through U.S. efforts to support implementation of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, uphold the enduring defeat of ISIS, and degrade Houthi military capabilities, jeopardizing the free flow of commerce in the Red Sea. He further reinforced the urgent need to secure the release of all hostages held by Hamas and achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. A readout of the call is now available on Defense.gov. Also yesterday, U.S. Central Command forces conducted a precision airstrike against a key command and control facility operated by Iran-backed Houthis within Houthi-controlled territory in Sana'a, Yemen. Per U.S. Central Command's press release, the targeted facility was a hub for coordinating Houthi operations, such as attacks against U.S. Navy warships and merchant vessels in the southern Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The strike reflects CENTCOM's ongoing commitment to protect U.S. and coalition personnel, regional partners, and international shipping. I would refer you to U.S. Central Command for further questions. Let me go to Yunus.
Thank you very much, General. The Turkish Defense Minister says Ankara had proposed to Washington that they can assign 3 commander brigades to help fight Daesh and also control prisons where ISIS militants and their families are held. Those are your biggest concerns right now, especially after the fall of the Assad regime. So this is your NATO ally saying that surely if there was such a partnership between the US and Turkey, these are the 2 largest militaries within their lines. Why not just team up? Is it just lack of trust? You just don't believe them, or you like to specifically work with the SDF?
Yeah, thanks for the question. You know, as you highlight, Turkey is a very valued NATO ally, and we continue to keep lines of communication open as it relates to the situation in Syria, as it relates to regional security interests like ISIS. I don't have anything to announce in terms of any changes in U.S. force posture or how we're approaching the defeat ISIS mission, but I'm confident that we'll continue to keep having those conversations with Turkey and other regional partners on this issue.
Just one follow-up, please. The Turkish Foreign Minister just on the same day said that the YPG, or as you call them, the SDF, will either dissolve itself or be destroyed in Syria. Is the United States going to militarily step in? I'd asked this question before because Turkey stresses it very clearly that they're going to be destroyed. Or you can work with us and we can sort out the Daesh problem in Syria. Like, how do you approach this statement and like this behavior?
Yeah, I don't have a comment to provide on the foreign minister's comment. What I would say is what I've relayed before, which is that the SDF remains an important partner. I think it's important to remember what Daesh or ISIS is capable of, as we've seen in the past, and we all have a vested interest in ensuring that they cannot resurge. And so I know, again, we're speaking with our Turkish counterparts and others in the region as it relates to the challenges associated with ISIS, as well as the SDF and the continued important role they play in preventing a resurgence of ISIS. And so we'll continue to have those conversations, and I'll just leave it there.
My question on Syria is Muslim Abdi, the head of SDF, is proposing a proposal to establish a demilitarized zone in Kobani with the redistribution of security forces under American supervision and presence. Is the U.S. familiar with this, and does the U.S. have any ability to have additional forces or additional presence in that region? Thanks.
Thanks, Howard. On your first question, as far as Kobani goes and the ceasefire discussions between groups that are there and the SDF and others, that's something that we're obviously monitoring closely. As I highlighted to your colleague, I think we all have a vested interest in ensuring that groups in the region capitalize on the situation here to enable the people of Syria to to be able to have a better life than they did under the Assad regime. But as it relates to the U.S. force presence in Syria, it is focused on the defeat ISIS mission. And so that continues to be our focus. And I'll just leave it there. Let me come back into the room. Noah.
Sometimes didn't specify where the strikes took place yesterday within Syria, where American equipment was used. Do you have anything more on that?
What I could tell you, Noah, is you're talking about the counter-ISIS, or the counter-ISIS, defeat ISIS strikes. Yes, those were in the Badiyah desert. What I'm tracking is it was 4 separate locations, and CENTCOM assesses that 12 ISIS members were killed.
Thank you.
John.
Thank you, General. North Syria again. We know that you are actively involved in negotiation between the Syrian Free Syrian Army and the SDF, especially in the area of Manbij. But other than that, in the south, in cities like Raqqa and Deir ez-Zor, there are a lot of protests against the SDF. And especially the Arab population in this area, they claim that the SDF was collaborating with the Assad regime, and they see them as complicit. And after the fall of the regime, they want them out of their neighborhood. What do you say about these kind of requests from the local Syrians in those areas? And do you think that will create a possible threat for U.S. forces?
Well, you know, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not going to delve into domestic Syrian politics other than to say, again, we recognize the situation right now in Syria is fragile, particularly as it relates to the post-Assad regime. U.S. forces have been working closely with the SDF for years now on the defeat ISIS mission, and that continues to be our focus. I won't speak for the SDF or what the local population may or may not be saying, other than, again, I think we all have a vested interest in ensuring that ISIS is not allowed to regroup and resurge and return to the kinds of activities that we saw previously. Got time for just a couple more.
I have another question. The leadership of the Assad regime, most of them who are criminals involved in slaughtering their own people, and very possibly in the future there will be courts against these names. We know Bashar al-Assad flew right away to Moscow, but rest of his team, do you have any idea how did they get out of the country, or do you follow any intelligence about personalities like Maher Assad, his brother?
Yeah, I don't have anything to provide from the podium here. Let me go to Mike.
Thank you, General Pat. One question on Syria. Since last week, the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army and militants are amassing around the controlled areas of SDF. Are you engaging with Turkey on this, and do you think a Turkish incursion into northeast of Syria is imminent?
Again, I won't speak for Turkey in terms of what they may or may not do. And then, I'm sorry, the first part of your question, negotiating with who?
Yeah, the Turkish-backed forces in around Kobani, amassing around Kobani to invade Kobani. Are you engaging with Turkey on this?
Again, I think I kind of already addressed this. Broadly speaking, the U.S. is communicating with Turkey about the situation in Syria writ large, and keeping lines of communication as it relates to the post-Assad regime, trying to ensure that the people of Syria are able to experience security and stability. But from a U.S. military standpoint, our focus in Syria continues to be on the enduring defeat of ISIS. Okay, let me get to Jim, and then I'll come to you, and then we'll close it up. Jim.
Joe, just to Syria again, given all the unrest, are the and the counter-ISIS mission there, are the U.S. forces able to pursue that mission, and is the force protection measures, given the unrest, adequate for what's happening now?
Yes, I mean, that as evidenced by the counter-ISIS strike we took a couple days ago. So, yes, they are able to conduct their mission, and of course, as it has always been, force protection remains a top priority for our forces in Syria.
There are no plans to add more forces there?
I don't have anything to announce right now in terms of change of force posture. Carl?
Thank you. You've made it very clear that we are in Syria, the U.S. is in Syria to counter ISIS. You've said that several times. But our partner in that fight is the SDF, and the commander is now saying that he wants to propose a demilitarized zone because of these tensions with Turkey and is asking for American supervision and presence. So is the Pentagon willing to consider that proposal to have U.S. boots on the ground in place to help that demilitarized zone?
Carla, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not going to make policy from the podium here. You know, obviously we continue to communicate very closely with the SDF as our defeat ISIS partner, but I'm not going to have any updates in terms of change of mission right now.